Canada's to the US. Watch us and follow these easy steps. We talk about business and visas and how to pitch your startup. Tune in every week for your path to stardom. Mebert Start Love. Mebert Start Love. Mebert Start Love.
Oh no! Did Pin survive? Hope he's not too charred.
Help, I'm burning!
Come on there, fella. You can't just rob a bank and drive to the US. They'll kill you, matey. Why do you even want to go that much?
Double cheeseburgers and Hooters, brother.
Hey, Artyom, how are you? So you called me a couple days ago.
Hello, Peter. But I wanted to consult with you as a specialist in the global market about my startup related to car parts and everything around cars. I'm thinking about which market to focus the main activity on. It's clear that I want to go global, but I need to start somewhere. And to start, the choice is not very large, because there are two largest markets in the world that are automotive, the American and the Chinese. Accordingly, it's clear that there are pros and cons for each country, but what would you advise me as a professional?
Well, look, it's a reasonable question to ask, and thank you for asking me. I'm far from giving you any specific advice, because first of all, I don't know your situation, I don't know your startup, I don't know your background, and I don't know your plans. I can tell you why I'm working in the United States of America and why I immigrated to this country about 30 years ago. To me, there are several factors. Well, first of all, it's one of the leading countries in the world in terms of doing business. Well, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have all the data in front of me, but I think United States is like in top 5 countries globally in terms of ease of doing business, and it's very important. So this is a company. It's a country for entrepreneurs, and people from all over the world are coming to the United States. Because the legal environment, the business environment, the support infrastructure, is so well established here, and the entire spirit of the United States is about business, about entrepreneurship, about creating your own enterprises, being a startup. So yeah, I just double checked. U.S. is like number 6 in this global doing business. Well, there may be some small countries ranked a little higher, but it's very, very, very high. So in comparison, China is about 30, ranked at about 30th place, and India is below 60, just for comparison. And most of countries of Eastern Europe are somewhere in the like 30s or 40s. So tell me, how do you compare? What's important for you from your startup standpoint for your future development?
It's quite simple. Where there are more cars, there is a bigger market. Thus, accordingly, but there are nuances, because the source of those luxury cars is mostly Europe and England now. But people there cannot afford to drive them, so they sell them to other countries, and they sell them to the USA and China, where people have a lot of money. Accordingly, and one of the ideas is to take these cars and their parts from those countries where people cannot afford to drive them, and sell them where they are needed. That's why I have already gathered quite a lot of information and metrics on the markets, and I can share them.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So basically, what you're looking at is the sheer size of the market. Okay, and I'm sure you know that the United States is about like 25 to 27% of global GDP. So US GDP is about $28 trillion. So it's like 30% higher than China and almost twice bigger than EU combined. And I understand you're from Eastern Europe originally, so am I. And the total Eastern Europe GDP is about $4 trillion. So it's a huge market. It's very important. What's interesting also, typically people don't know that. People know Silicon Valley, and it's a beautiful place. It is, the Bay Area, San Francisco, Palo Alto is just a wonderful place, but it's not the only place. And as a matter of fact, in terms of number of deals and overall investment in new ventures, it's pretty much parity between the East Coast and the West Coast, and between New York and Boston and Philadelphia and Washington D.C., South and North Carolina and Florida. The number of deals and amount of investment is similar, very close, almost identical to the West Coast. Not to mention that you have Chicago and you have Texas and some other places, and they grow this, hubs for new innovation all over the place. And yet another important criteria is how do you enter the market? Because, China is a huge market. That's true. But that I live there, I understand that China is a very closed society. It's a very closed kind of country. I just got across the statistics that the percentage-wise number of foreigners permanently living in China is less in terms of percent of population than in North Korea. So you can imagine how close this society is. Besides, you have to speak fluent Chinese, which I assume you don't. I lived there for several years. I can say probably a dozen of words, but after ni hao,
Can you speak Chinese?
Yeah, ni hao. That's all I can say pretty much with an accent. Sesi. Besides that, it's so obviously China is not really an option, right? It's very close. It's very competitive. It's very uniquely run because it is a communist in a sense. It's run by Communist Party of China, so it's very specific. But the United States, on the other hand, it's very, very open. Up to 50%, 46% of these companies were founded by immigrants or their children, or immigrants were, partners, one of the founding partners of these companies. More than 50% of all unicorns, new digital technology startups, were founded by foreigners and by immigrants.
Oh boy, oh golly, those boring fools keep yapping.
Yeah, so annoying. How about y'all stop talking? Just build a plane and fly to the US, bruh.
Yeah, all they talk about is statistics and life stories. Who cares about that? Let's burn it the hell down.
Yeah, blaze it, brother.
Nice invention, dude.
There are several factors which I want to emphasize. And again, I'm not selling America to you. America sells itself. And I will emphasize it's not easy to get here, but the size of the market is huge. The growth potential is huge. The startup infrastructure is huge. The culture is absolutely for startup, for entrepreneurs, for people who want to change the world and build their own enterprises. It's just enormous. At the same time, it's very open, very supportive. Not to mention that you have all democratic systems here. So you have your courts, you have your laws, you have your just overall infrastructure for entrepreneurs.
Yes, I have read a lot about various economic indicators, and it is obvious that most tech companies and the billionaires who founded them almost all have American citizenship or have lived in America for a very long time. I also have a few startups, one of which I am developing in Eastern Europe and one in Western Europe. Naturally, over each of them is about a year old, and I was unable to attract money in the European market. And the American VCs, they look at, I showed my pitch decks, and they said that basically if you get introduced to the right person in America, they might give you, say, 100,000 quite quickly for this project. Well, there are nuances, but in Europe, getting such checks is practically impossible.
You're right. My experience is very similar. I mean, Europe is beautiful, but again, it's over regulated. I think it's not entrepreneurial enough. It's a little bit too conservative, with all respect. And my roots from Europe, I understand that. But that's why the venture market is so huge in the United States, and Europe is just trying to catch up, and it's very difficult to compete with the United States.
Since I'm all about what, I'm all about spare parts and market shares.
Here, found information from Jeffries Hedges and Company for the year 2021. And according to this information, the share of the American spare parts market is $18 billion expected for 2022. Expected in the year 2030 was $32 billion. Accordingly, well, it's very interesting to work in such a market, a large one. So, and I also used information from McKinsey, who say that the cost of spare parts and car maintenance in the shop segment is the most profitable. Well, car maintenance in our segment is the most profitable. This profitability will also increase over the next 10 years because the demand for these cars in America is at its peak.
You're asking or implying very pragmatic criteria, but keep in mind that to get to this market, you need to relocate. You need to bring your family here. You need to adopt. You need to become an American, citizen or green card holder, and it's still a cultural barrier. And so you need to consider multiple things. Yes, it's very attractive, but it will require from you and your family quite a bit of adaptation and change and transformation. And you got to be ready. And I think also you need to understand the process, because it's not easy. It's not easy. It's very competitive, right? And if you think about, my basic analogy is like it's a game. If you want to play basketball in the United States, you have to be at the top level, right? If you want to play hockey in NHL, you have to be at the top of your game. So yes, it's very attractive, but it's attractive because the United States, again, attract and absorbs the most competitive, the most smart, adventurous, and determined, committed people.
Yes, I understand that moving is not the easiest thing to do. I also realized that moving to more or less any country, when you choose a country, regardless of which one, moving is more or less the same level of, let's say, disaster, right? Let's call it that. That's why I want to choose the right place and so to go through this move, this immigration several times. So accordingly, it's really cool that you have such experience in Europe, Asia, but ultimately America, which shows that in principle, if you have settled in America, then you can skip the first two steps and go straight to America, right? Because I understand that you can work in a small market and spend a certain amount of effort, but you will earn the same small amount of money.
You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But I want to just
share a little bit more. I want to say that I give you one example before we wrap up. When when I studied at the Wharton School of Business, University of Pennsylvania, I think it's very telling how American society operates. There are two things. Well, first of all, the grading of your test is done on the comparison basis. So there's no A's or B's or C's, right? This is a distribution curve, and if you're in top 15% of your class, you get pretty much A, or distinguished. If you're next 30% of your class in comparison with your classmates, you have high pass. If you're the next, I don't know, like 50%, right, you get pass. And if you're in the low 10%, you get nothing, right? You failed. So pretty much you're competing with your group. And if the group in your class is very highly professional with a lot of experience, for example, in corporate finance, there was a lot of people at Wharton is famous for corporate finance. It's a very prominent school, probably the best in the world. The young guys who worked for big investment banks, and they know corporate finance left and right, and you have to compete with them, right? What's important? Let's say your test starts at 10 a.m. So 5 minutes before the test, you can come to approach any of your classmates and ask a question. Look, dude, I don't understand this formula. How does it work? Every single person will help you, right? It's kind of a code of friendship, code of brotherhood, code whatever, of students. But after you have your start of your test, and if any one of the students will spot you cheating and using your, something illegal, something unfair, they will be the first to inform the teacher, because again, it's against the code. It's unfair competition. You can ask and be friendly and get the answer, but then competition starts. You have to compete on a very fair basis, right? And this is very much about America. It's very friendly, but it's very competitive.
Thank you very much. Dane, I also want to share a small moment with you. I already had the idea to start a startup in America in 2015, and arrived, asked friends to arrange a meeting with 3 dealers who sell cars of different scales. And I was amazed that they shared all their information with me, even commercial internal information, meaning they showed me tables of how everything works, how many cars they have and how many are sold, how much they cost on the lot, how many days they stay, and the pricing. I was so amazed by how openly, honestly, and usefully they talked about what you're mentioning. But the startup failed then because my calculation was incorrect. Cars in America sell in about 20 days and then they go to auction.
Yeah, that's exactly the example, just supporting my thought and my observation. That says people are very open, people are very friendly. But if you get into the competitive mode, they will be very, very competitive. That's what you should expect. That's a difference. And this is what makes it so much fun. All right. Well, let me know if you want to continue the conversation. You let me know. We'll have another call. We discuss about the challenges, and then you take your time and think. And if you really committed and you make your mind, and your family will support you, I'm sure it will in whatever decision you make. Then you can get back to me and we have a plan and we will do it together. That's exactly what I do for entrepreneurs like yourself. But your commitment comes first.
Thank you very much, Fedor. It was very helpful. You told me a lot of interesting information and I will return in the next few days. Thank you very much.
All right, I admit the previous plan was kind of crazy, but this one is for sure a sound business practice.
Pin. What the hell? Why are we in a Mexican desert? What the hell is this contraption?
Trust me, Karich. This thing is getting us into the US. This beautiful machine is gonna solve all our problems. Geronimo!
Bruh. Oh, Pin, brother. What the hell? Are you okay?
The catapult failed. But how?
Oh, what are we gonna do?
We'll see you later. Ooh. Oh, man. This is so totally cool. Check this out. Check this out, folks. Look at this. Welcome to California. Yeah, it's truly beautiful. It's just stunning, man.